So hello, Kim.
Hi.
Thanks very much for coming here. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And I want to know more about lady balls and, well, what you've been doing nowadays.
Yeah, well, I've had my business for like 15 years. And in my business, I have hundreds of clients, and I work with a lot of different businesses, and a lot of females in particular. And so, I notice too where females don't own their power a lot of times, or instead of being powerful, they'll get angry, and it's misplaced. And so I've been teaching women how to empower themselves, not only women, but men too. And it's with a process that I call Lady Balls. And so what Lady Balls is really accessing your own masculine energy. And so a lot of women, they say, well, I don't want to be more masculine. And I don't, because I'm too masculine as it is, and people think I'm, come across too strong. But really what happens is a lot of times when you have a masculine female or someone who has a lot of abrupt or, confrontational tendencies, it's where they've allowed other masculine men to kind of overtake their space. So Lady Balls is really, I even give them a pair of balls kind of as initiation.
This is fun.
Yeah. Whether it's it depends. It depends on the female, maybe. And I'll have them imagine maybe they need big rhino balls, or, it just depends on the situation. For example, I had a person that has been working at a company for a long time, and she really deserves a raise. And so, but she could never ask. And she didn't quite have the courage to. I mean, her skill set is amazing, but everyone seemed to overpass her. And so we just imagined, and I gave her some tennis balls, and we did exercises around how she can own her balls out, how she could really own her power and her voice to ask for what she wants and to get what she wants.
Very important.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
So just to make it clear, it's not that the women should put aside their femininity. It doesn't mean that we'll be less feminine. It's just that they will have more energy to stand up and talk with more power.
Well, it's interesting because what I've noticed is that it actually makes them more feminine because, what helps women when we have a strong energy to support us? And when we feel that strong energy, then we can relax, and then we can flow more, and then we feel comfortable because even in relationship, most women get angry or frustrated with a man because, they feel that he's not there, that he doesn't support the woman. But it's kind of like we all have masculine and feminine energy within us. And if we can
both men and women.
Yes,
right?
Both men and women do, because I work with a lot of men who don't have their balls.
It happens also, yes.
It happens, and they may not have had the power. They may have had their fathers left. It could be a lot of different things where they're afraid to speak up, or they may just have more feminine tendencies. So it's really to bring back into balance that masculine and feminine, and when females can really support themselves with their own masculine, what ends up happening is they become like maybe those females that have a lot of male tendencies become less male. Like they become softer, they become more feminine. Things move for them because what my business is really about is I see things and I help people move things. And so when things are stuck, I can move it, and I can help them and teach them the tools to move it. And so within themselves then, it's just giving them the balls to know that they can do it, and supports and tools, and I teach courses on this. And
very great. This is very interesting. I was thinking about this a few months ago because it seems that a few years ago, a woman, to stand up, she had to put aside all her feminine side. So she almost became a male, wearing suits, being very fierce and serious. And because sometimes if you're too feminine, you're too soft, you're too sensitive, and we are always trying to find a balance. This is so difficult.
Exactly.
This is the point where you start to help women.
Yeah.
There are more men or women that go after you.
It's interesting because it's about half and half. And usually the men that are my clients are actually very powerful men that run companies, men in Hollywood, all kinds of powerful men, and you would think that they're extremely strong, but they have insecurities too.
Yes.
They may not show it, And they may be very controlling. Usually they're extremely controlling, but the insecurities that they're dealing with, it's kind of like I help, teach them and give them the tools where they can really own even their feminine more and their masculine. And their stuff moves then, because if we're out of balance, we need both to be able to move something, to move a project. If you're too feminine, then you get overtaken, you become a victim, and people don't like victims. They will
That's
attack
right.
a victim.
Yes.
And females kind of tend to, a lot of times, will take that side. So
I was talking to the CEO of Astia, and she mentioned that we women also have this sort of, how do you deal with when you're in a conversation with a man? You're like alone with him, but you're talking business, it's professional, and how do you do not let this become weird, or with second interests? Like, do you coach women on that? Like,
you mean like in a sexual way when
in a
people
sexual way,
come
yes.
across and
yes,
yes, mhm.
because it seems that women are always worried about that.
Yes.
How do I stand up, but at the same time I don't want to intend anything else than professionally.
Yeah, and a lot of times too, it is about having an energy field around you and a very clear space and a bubble and a boundary. And so it's interesting because a lot of times, men and how they view women, they want control, and not all men, of course. But when women are faced with that, I do teach them even how to laugh at it or how to turn it around or how to really have their power, because if they get all angry and upset and pissed, men are different. They respond differently.
Yes.
And so I help give them the psychology of that and what they can do. So it's really about them holding their space differently. And when they do, people around them change. Or when a man can come across extremely angry and aggressive, this is what devastates a lot of women. And then they're in tears in their company, crying over, because they've just been blasted. And so, that's where my tools really are helpful also.
So it's important to create this sort of bubble,
Space.
your
Space.
space, show your limits in a very clear and educate, polite way.
And and more too, people dream in pictures. And so my work is a lot around pictures, where I teach people, instead of going up, for example, and asking for that raise, for 2 weeks we started putting a picture out there, like an imaginary picture, and envisioning this picture and putting it right out there so the boss could start seeing that picture and seeing this person in that role. Because a lot of times it's the pictures we have within us of lack of self-confidence, and that's why no one's going to give you a raise. And so I help them clear those pictures, create new pictures, and it's like people start to move around that picture.
Very good.
And start to match that picture.
And since when you have started Lady Balls?
I've been doing Lady Balls for a year now.
Wow, a year. Good.
Yeah, I've been doing my business, but I realized, wow, there is, women really are hit with this a lot, and they don't know how to balance it out. And then I realized by giving them balls and doing initiation around those balls and exercises, they started to really shift and change.
How did you come up with this idea?
That's
it. That's what I'm curious about. How this idea came up.
I lost my space. Because I deal with a lot of powerful men, and I lost my space one day, and I was trying to find my own space, and how do I confront this? How can I deal with this? Because if I can't, how am I going to teach people how to do it? And I had a set of balls. I brought like a set of golf balls, and I had my golf balls, and it's like it gave me the power. It gave me the power to, tap into my own male energy and my own strength and my own protection, so I don't let something come in and overtake me and devastate me.
Tell me a little bit more about this moment when you realized that you lost your space. Can you tell me what happened?
Yeah, when it felt like a knife hit me in my solar plexus, and I started to cry. And
very sensitive, as women are sensitive. Yeah, that's fine.
Well, and I became extremely vulnerable, and you know, it was a male energy that was very degrading and demeaning and logical, where it wasn't really about relations or anything. It was just boom, 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 and then I was just.
I've been there
Yes.
as well.
I think everyone has to a certain degree.
Yeah, there's that one word that really goes as a knife, and you let yourself be hit by that.
Yes.
That's the problem. We let ourselves, and we have to, create this space. No, I will not let myself be affected by that.
Yeah, and two, you know, it's kind of like, and that's where I think it's hard for women to find that balance, because we don't want to put people off or be, you know, the bitch or whatever.
Yes.
I don't know if I can say that here, but you know, it is that way.
It seems there is no proper word to explain that, because if you're that way, so. Yes.
Well, and it's interesting because I was at the store this morning, and the bagger, he was bagging and he was complaining about his ex-wife and how crazy and why, just how crazy she is, and she may come in. And I said, you know, what makes women crazy a lot are males. Because for women, you know, what they need is a very grounded energy, a strong energy, and that makes them feel safe, secure, and supported. And when they don't feel that, or when men check out so much that their energy starts to go up very high, and when it does, they get overtaken, kind of with this craziness. And it's really, they just need to be grounded and supported, that support. And so these balls are about, you know, really how you can, so like today I set my space having well balls, you know, like I'll choose an animal or choose just the image, and you can feel a shift. Like choose something, like choose
something
an
that helps
animal,
you
or choose
to feel grounded.
Yeah, to represent your balls. Like, what would you choose?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, like tiger balls, or
yeah, like very strong.
Yeah, rhino, or you know, something with that strong, you know. When you have these pictures of having balls, it is it's something that's unsaid. You don't have to be aggressive, because it's a way you're holding your space. And just like guys that get kicked in the balls and they have that reaction, if somebody holds their space in that strong way, then they react to that too. So it's more on how females can change really their own space, so it affects the way other people, you know, treat them and respond to them. Or even males, for example, if you have a male that doesn't have balls.
And this is not an easy task, because you don't want to be aggressive.
No.
You don't want to sound aggressive, but you don't want to sound oversensitive. So it's really finding a balance.
It's finding a balance. Or angry, or, yeah.
Yes. How do you start coaching people? Like,
what I do is they say their name, and I'm a seer, so I can see energy fields. And so I start to see what I call, when somebody says what they want, I want to, you know, it's mainly I want a new job, I want a career, I want to, you know, have my company, sell for this much. I start to look at that as a field of energy. And then I look at what I call their backspace. And what their backspace is, it's kind of what's behind them. It's their unconscious space. And so when we get stuck and we have traumatic events or incidences, what happens is energy gets stored in pictures. It's like if somebody told you you were ugly when you were younger and you took that on, you believed it, that gets stuck in our space. It's like oil in the ground getting stuck. You can't access it. It's a potential. It's sitting there. And so what I do is help release that. And when I can help release it, it helps them move. It helps bring them into present time. And then we start to shift, you know, how they can create and how they can see a future with new possibilities. But you need energy to do it.
Yes, and how do you find energy, or how do you inspire your clients to have energy?
I teach them to tap into their own energy, because usually they have blocks, and I can see their blocks, and where they have blocks, it will manifest in their world. So if they have a block of, you know, feeling insecure, they won't ever get hired for something. They, you know, their relationships fail, and I can see all of that. And so it depends on what it is. I teach them the tools, help them connect to their energy, help create the flow, so they're not connecting with others and just in the horizontal world and taking it on and just matching somebody in pain.
Do you believe that if I tell you a little bit about my goals, you can help me
Yeah.
a little bit?
Yeah.
So, well, no, you make the questions.
Okay,
You ask
so-
the question.
so
I'm sorry. No, you ask the
Just,
questions.
just say your name once, your full name once, so I can just kind of look at that.
Okay, I will pronounce in Portuguese.
Yeah.
Okay. Virginia Esquizani Rodrigues.
Okay. So what is your intention?
I want to become some sort of leader, but I still don't know how to do it.
Okay, and so in that backspace, I'm just going to talk it aloud because no one will know what I'm doing if I don't. Because right
Yes.
now in a session, I would just start to work on it because I do see some things. So what blocks come up for you that make you believe that you don't know the way?
Sometimes I don't know how to delegate things, and I think I sound more aggressive than I should.
Yeah.
And so I need this balance.
Well, it's interesting because even when you said what your intention is, I see a lot of your father. You have a lot of your father's pictures around kind of how to create things or where you may, direct things, you may become a director. But what I'm looking at though too, it's like where you don't have some of your information about, but I can see right away that you do have a little bit of a block right here.
Okay.
And so what I would like to do is just give you a simple exercise to give you balls, start to ground, but also to kind of bring you, you're a little stuck in the past, and if I could bring you more into present time, I could get about 20% of your energy, which would help you create with 20% more of your energy.
Oh, this seems very nice. Is it easy to do this exercise?
Yes,
Is it possible?
It's possible. Do you have a pair of balls around here?
Okay, we are back again with my balls.
All right. So what I see in your space is a lot of times you direct your energy out a lot, and when too much energy gets out of your space, then you don't have enough energy back in your space, and you're
Yes,
not
that's
bringing
right.
your energy back enough. So you're doing the first part correctly because you want to create a lot, I see. And you need to be a leader because actually you do have a lot of information about that. But why it's not quite coming into present time is because it's like this ball. If I catch this ball.
Okay.
If I throw you this ball, this is like your energy going out trying to create something. So I see you have a lot of creations out, a lot of ideas out that are really good.
This is absolutely right. I love to be creative. This
You're
is a
totally
need in my life.
It's
yes.
a need in your life, and you need to fulfill this. But what's happening is that if I'm you, you have all of these balls out there, and now you don't bring it back. So throw the ball back to me. So for you, what you need to do, there's something in you that's wanting people to give it back. And maybe you're kind of not demanding, but you're bossy.
Yes, okay, you're right. I admit
wanted
that.
to be nice. So it's kind of like if you throw this at someone, you want them to bring it back to you, and maybe sometimes they don't know how or what to do. And I'm just noticing that there's not enough energy coming back to you, and you can't create because you need to bring it in the body for something to manifest. To create something, you have to move it out of your space. To bring it back, you need to bring it in your space. But what you can do is you can bring it back, and that is with your heart, because your heart has the ability to move energy. It's our circulatory system, and so how you would imagine that in your mind is every time you give somebody a task, you must pull it back, because I don't know if the people you're giving the task to complete it or finish it. Maybe they hit a problem, or
Yes.
And so it's partly your energy, because you need to throw that ball back to me. Throw it.
Okay.
So this is what I want you to imagine. When you give something out, you pull it back, and you're not pulling it back enough. When you pull it
Okay.
back, then you can have it in the body, and then things will start to move for you. And so that's the first tool that I want you to do. And so what I want you also to do is, I want you to imagine these are your balls, and what these balls represent, they represent your space, your bubble around you that your heart makes. And I'm not just making this up. This is like scientifically proven that the heart generates an energy field.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so what these balls represent is this part of your energy center, your lower energy center, which is masculine. It's our base, it's our foundation, it's kind of like our root where we come from. And so it's like I want you and I will go into agreement on what type of foundation do you want to build your creative ideas from? What is that foundation? What does that look like for you?
Foundation, in the sense of,
It's kind of like, what do you want to stand on? It's kind of like everything you stand on has to be solid, because a part of why all your projects aren't coming in, it doesn't quite have a solid foundation, and that's what balls will do for you. It will give you a solid foundation.
I think then, I always have these 3 principles in my mind for a while, maybe this helps, that I always wanted to do something that is meaningful, that I believe that it's meaningful, that allows me to be creative, and at the same time allows me to be free to move around.
Completely.
So maybe these are the 3 foundations that I seek for.
Yes. And that is great, because that's so much of this color here and your energy, and we just need to bring it down to the lower chakra. If you can bring it down to this energy center, then you're going to manifest it, because your energy runs high, and that's the creative energy in you. And so if you can't bring it down here, though, it will never manifest. So here are your balls. I want you to cherish them. Maybe bite one, though, since it's an apple.
Yes. Now every time I take 2 apples, like they will... Okay,
Exactly.
I will never face an apple again. Like that's the same.
And then just hold it right down here. It's kind of like this is your base, and I want you to just, focus on that energy center, focus on that masculine energy. It's like that stability and that foundation of all your creative ideas happening, of them all being built on this foundation. And I want you to imagine you moving your energy into the planet. Like you can imagine a grounding cord or a tree root into the planet and dropping your energy so that you can match a physical energy. Because I see your ideas are so connected with spirit and so connected with creativity, but it really needs to be matched too with the physical.
Yes, I
energy.
have to ground them.
Yeah, you got to ground your balls.
Yes, this
So,
is good.
so feel what it feels like to ground your balls.
And it's nice because when we're actually holding something and thinking about it, like our mind is up in space, but like you can feel that you're here.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's kind of like even you can carry some balls around in your purse with you, and you can focus on, moving your energy into those balls. And if you find yourself kind of stuck, you can even spin your balls, like spin them. To move your energy, it kind of moves that energy up, And what I do is, so in the morning what I would do is have the right hand, because the right hand's the masculine, I would set your intention. Like set an intention for a creative project you're working on. What would that be?
My intention, well, for this
Put it in the ball.
project,
Put it in the ball.
Okay, like thinking.
Yeah, say it aloud and put it in the ball.
I really want Startup TV to succeed.
Exactly. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then in your left ball, this is the female side. This is the side, part of that backspace, the unconscious, part of our fears. Now, what is a doubt that comes up for you?
A doubt?
Something where you don't believe maybe it can happen, or it's not happening fast enough, or what is the opposite?
Maybe that unconscious thing is that if this doesn't work, what I'm going to do next?
Yeah, what am I going to do next?
Yes.
Now, based on what would I do next? I want you to reset this intention, like refine it of something that you're passionate about, something where you're creative. A lot of times when people come to me and they tell me their intention, it's probably not until the 10th time I look at both these spaces, because it's the programming, what even you think you want. And so, even in the day, if you could, okay, I'm going to intend this, I'm going to put it in there to make it reality, and then I want you to pull your doubt and fear to this ball, because objects absorb things. And so you pull your fear.
I should not eat this apple after.
You should not. Sorry, the apple.
This one is gone.
No, I think the apple you need to throw out the window. It needs to, move down to the earth, round it out. So it can recycle, we can use the energy of
Recycle
that.
the energy, good.
But, you know, I want you to imagine pulling your doubt and fear into an object.
Good.
Put it in that object. Because here's the thing, objects contain frequency. They vibrate. All objects vibrate.
Everything vibrates.
Everything
yes.
vibrates. And so when you can pull it into something, it pulls it out of you. It contains it. It's like a glass of water. It's like if a glass of water spills, it goes everywhere. But if you can contain it and pull it out of you, because part of, you know, what drives your energy is your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And so when your thoughts are driven, especially in a space of, well, what if this doesn't happen? It moves it into a future space, and then it grounds all your projects. And so then you got to reground in that intention. You know what? I'm gonna hold on to my balls. My energy is going
Yes.
down to my balls. This is my foundation. This is what I'm going to have, and that's the first step of what I would do for you.
Very nice. Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
everything. I can watch it later and repeat everything. Good, good. Very nice. What kind of advice, like the first advice you would give to women?
The first advice I would give to them is to tap into their own power and their own masculine energy, which is by having a pair of balls and moving their energy down.
And there is this, the advice that you give to men is different.
No, it's the same, but it is different depending on what client it is. You know, it's different because a lot of men can own their power, but they're so aggressive that they blow people out of the water. And actually, they're good at maybe getting things done. However, they're not so good at pulling things in, and that's the female side. Because females know how to create. If they can own their power, they can create far faster than men
Oh, this is
by
nice.
just a thought. And boom, you know, it's synchronicity. Things start to pull in. It's the passive.
Who inspired you, or what inspired you to start all this movement?
You know, when I was 8 years old, my Aunt Lillian, she was a hypnotherapist, and she taught doctors. And I was extremely sensitive as a child. I had horrible learning disabilities. I was sick all the time, and it was because I was very sensitive. So she started me with my first tools, you know. But it was a way to survive, because going through life being sensitive is hard.
You have to be careful to do not let yourself be so affected by others' energy. Yes.
Exactly.
So since you were a kid.
Yeah, it's more survival. You know, I have a degree in counseling, and I got that degree just to have a degree, but and it took me a long time because of my learning disabilities. So, but a part of having learning disabilities, when I look back, is it protected me in ways, you know, because I wasn't able to learn in a traditional way, and so and it really forced me into my gift, and that is being a seer and seeing kind of not what the physical shows you, but what the energetic shows you.
And before Ladyballs, what you were doing?
I was doing my business. You know, it's the same business, but I have so many different tools. It's just this tool really resonated with a lot of people.
And then you had that defining moment that okay, now I'm stopping this and I will start a new project.
Well, you know, I partner actually with a lot of people in my projects, because I have a tool. It's kind of like when your energy field and my energy field overlap. It's what I call the greater whole. It creates spirit. It creates something greater than you can create on your own, or I can create. And so I've actually partnered with a lot of my clients that came in for health problems, and now we're doing businesses together.
Very nice.
So, you know, I never stopped my old business. This is a tool that I use,
And is it how is it going, like, to manage everything now that you have like Ladyballs and your old business and a lot
These
of
other
partners?
businesses.
Yes. So how do you manage everything?
my balls.
And you have your balls. This is
And I have
good.
some really big balls. Yeah. Because I'm very creative like you, and I couldn't just do one thing.
Yes, we just can't do
No.
one thing. It's not enough.
And it's really, you know, everything reflects everything else, and everyone reflects everyone else. So it's, you know, it's just grounding it all. So.
And did you grow up here in San Francisco, Silicon Valley? Where are you from?
I grew up in the East Bay, from Pinole.
Great. And do you believe this area it's more open to this spirituality thing and, you know, being more open to understand yourself, align body and mind?
Well, I live in Mill Valley, and yes, it is, you know, but my clients are mainly on Skype because I have a lot of international clients and just clients in LA and New York. So coast to coast, you know, are where my most
Awesome.
clients are. But in this area, Mill Valley, yes. In Pinole, no. You know, there could be, but I don't have clients there. So.
Yeah, you sometimes just have to accept that.
And I was
Some
born in
peop-
Richmond, and so, yeah,
Some people are not open for that
Yeah.
yet, so
No.
but it's okay. Like
they will be.
they will be. Great.